yeah, let's kick off and let's talk rigs. So starting off with this, that's rig tubing, a low diameter one, and that's a Nashi one from the diffusion range. I've probably used this within my rigs for anti-tangle purposes this year for the last, well, maybe getting on for 10-12 months, and certainly for 80% of my fishing. As I say, it's low diameter. Once it's steamed, it is quite straight, and it does sink reasonably well. One thing I would say is if your rigs are out in the water for long periods, it has got a bit of an habit. That's the only downside to it, of taking on water, and it can lift up. So that's probably the only one downside to it, but not something that I've got a lot of confidence in. But I know people have done it and they put rig tubing around it, so if that does happen, you know, it's never going to lift off the bottom. But made the decision, I'm going to ditch that now. And I'm taking a leaf out of Marc's book. I'm going to go back on the lead core leaders. Now this is a lead core leader made by ESP. They do the leaders in various lengths and colours, and this one I've chosen is for the obvious reason. Out of the three that they do in the colours, this one is the best one that blends into the lake bed on the syndicate. Real dark in colour, so this one should be camouflaged and disguised really well on the lake bed, on the lake which I'm fishing. So I'm confident in that. And then moving on to the rig, on one of my rods I'm going to be using this one, certainly this week anyway, and that's the Chod rig. Not a new rig by any means. It's been well publicised on videos and publications over the last, what, maybe 4 or 5 years. I know Terry Earns wrote a lot about it and done really well on it. My thinking here is it's a different presentation, pop-up rig. It's an ideal rig for fishing over Chod, hence obviously the reason the Chod rig. But I've tied this one the smallest I possibly feel confident in fishing it. Reason being is I have used pop-up rigs in the past down the syndicate, but I don't think a blatant pop-up, as I call it, or pop-up rig, like 4 or 5 inches off the lake bed, is the way forward down there. By tying it this size and using a slow sinking bait, hopefully it's just going to sink nice and slow, rest over the contours of the lake bed, all the twigs and the debris, and it's just going to sit there wafting. You know, it's borderline in between the snowman and a pop-up, if that comes across understandable. So yeah, I'm going to be giving them a whirl on the one rod. Plus it gives me other options. I can fish it over bait, or I can just use it as a roaming rod. And of course, if you see anything show, it's one of those where you can just reel it in and pop it on them, and you know you're fishing effectively and efficiently. And there you can see the bait. Now that's a bait that is still under field testing. It's not in production, but it's a bait that's been doing really well during the field testing. Certainly Marc, he's done really well on it down the syndicate. Myself and Nick, we've used it wherever we've been this year fishing, and it's pretty much caught from the off. We've rolled it in various sizes, and we've made it in various colours, and this washed out eggshelly selly colour was without doubt the one we've had the best results on. It's an all year round bait. It comes into its own in the colder months, so it's perfect for autumn and brilliant for winter. It's a citrusy stroke fruity flavoured bait. So yeah, I shall be using that with my choddies. Incidentally, this is just a bog standard pop-up. I won't be using that one. I'll be using a cork ball pop-up, because a cork ball pop-up is essential if your bait's going to be in the water for long periods, and for the mechanics and this Chod rig to work efficiently. So there you go, bait, Chod rigs. And whilst I'm talking Chod rigs, I'm just going to show you the components that I've been using to make up my choddies. There we go, that's a bristle filament. You can see that. There's various bristle filaments on the market, all good quality ones. I've used one from ESP, I've used one from Corda, the mouth trap. But certainly 2 years ago, when I was using the Chod rig a lot, I've been using this one, which is the Power Stiff from Ultima. It's a clear monofilament. I do favour clear monofilaments if I can get my hands on them, and I highly recommend it. It's reasonably priced. It's never let me down, so guys, if you're after a bristle filament for your choddies, I recommend it. It's a brilliant product. Moving on, quarter product number 1, and that's the choddy hook. I've used these again, brilliant product. Size 6 these are, as you can see. I've been using 16mm baits, so I'll stick on the size 6s, but if this rig does prove to catch me a few fish and it's successful and I use it in the colder months, I will scale down to a 14mm bait and change the hook size to a size 8, but for the time being I'm going to stick on 16mm and size 6s. Ring eye swivel. Now that's on the end of the bristle filament, which I tie off with a 1-turn blood knot and blob it with the old lighter. And there you go, folks. The big eye swivel sits on the leader, and being a big eye, it gives it plenty of movement. So as that that lead's hit the water and that bait's slowly sinking through the water, theory is that's just going to nestle really nicely on top of any debris that you're fishing in front of. Your rig's going to be presented well, fishing effectively, and all things being equal, if Mr. Carp comes along, he's going to get nailed. And one little thing I may add for me choddies. Some people use rig rings on the D's on the chod rig. I tend to favour a small rig swivel. There's 2 sizes in there, as you can see, but I do use the small one. Just personal preference. In my opinion, it gives that bait a lot more movement. As I say, it's just personal preference. I'm sure people have used the rig rings successfully and caught a lot of fish on them, but in fishing I just think it's a confidence thing, and if you're confident in something you're obviously going to fish much better. But as I say, I tend to use the little small rig rings just for personal preference to mount my my pop-ups on top of my choddies.